Welcome to the channel everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into the fascinating world of rare and error coins that have stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. And today's spotlight is on one of the most talked about and mysterious coins of modern American history, the 1988 D-quarter dollar, a coin that might look ordinary to most people at first glance but which has captured the imagination of numismatists around the world because of the unbelievable story attached to it, a coin that has reached a valuation of an astronomical $148 million due to the combination of its extremely rare errors, unique minting mistakes, and the possibilities of hidden features that make it far more valuable than just 25 cents. So buckle up and stay tuned because we are going to explore in depth why this 1988 D-quarter is considered a once-in-a-lifetime treasure and how its extraordinary attributes set it apart from millions of other quarters minted in the same year at the Denver Mint. And as we begin to unfold this story, let's start with a little bit of context, because the quarter-dollar coin has been a staple of American currency since the late 18th century, and over time the designs have evolved, with the Washington quarter first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. And while the design has changed slightly over the decades, by 1988 the standard Washington quarter still bore the iconic portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle on the reverse, struck in copper-nickel-clad composition. Yet despite the billions of ordinary examples in circulation, a small handful emerged with errors so rare and so bizarre that they command prices most people would never dream possible for a coin of this denomination. And among these, the 1988 D-quarter has risen to legendary status because collectors discovered errors that include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, planchette errors, and even wrong metal compositions, each of which on their own can add immense value, but together in combination on a single coin can result in astronomical prices at auctions and private sales. And so the $148 million valuation is tied to the most dramatic examples ever found, with some having misaligned dies that caused Washington's portrait to appear slightly distorted, with doubling on the motto "I in God we trust" and liberty visible under magnification, while on the reverse, the eagle showed signs of hub doubling on the feathers, talons, and even the inscriptions "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum", creating a breathtaking clash of minting mistakes that made these coins instantly recognizable to seasoned collectors. And beyond doubling, some 1988 D-quarters are believed to have been struck on experimental planches, including copper planches intended for cents, clad layers improperly bonded, or even foreign coin blanks mistakenly fed into the presses. And when you consider that such mint errors are incredibly scarce, the fact that one or two pieces might display a combination of multiple mistakes makes them essentially priceless. Yet coin experts and auction houses have to put a number on them for the sake of collectors, and that is where the jaw-dropping $148 million figure enters the story, because demand and rarity collided in a way that drove the price into the stratosphere. And while many will ask why anyone would pay such a fortune for a 1988 D-quarter, the truth is that coin collecting is not just about metal value or face value. It is about history, rarity, and the story behind the coin. And the story of this quarter is one of mystery, accident, and discovery, with possibilities that continue to spark debates, because some numismatists speculate that certain 1988 D-quarters were part of intentional test runs or struck using misprepared dies that had design elements intended for other denominations, leading to hybrid or transitional errors that are nearly impossible to replicate. And others suggest that accidental mixing of metals at the Denver Mint may have led to coins with unusual color tones, weight differences, and even magnetic properties, features that make collectors and experts eager to examine every specimen carefully, because one tiny anomaly can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth millions. And as stories of such rare pieces hit the media and auction catalogs, excitement among collectors grew to fever pitch, with treasure hunters scouring their change, coin roll hunters sifting through thousands of quarters from banks, and estate sale buyers inspecting old jars of coins in hopes of finding the elusive 1988 D errors. And while most people will never come across one of these multi-million-dollar examples, the mere possibility keeps the thrill alive, because coins like this remind us that hidden treasures can still be found in the most ordinary places. Like a handful of loose change on a dresser or a forgotten jar in a basement. And what makes the 1988 D quarter so fascinating is not just the errors themselves but the variety of them, because error types range from minor die chips and cracks, which cause small blobs of metal around the letters or the portrait, to dramatic off-center strikes where a portion of the design is completely missing, leaving a blank crescent of metal on the coin, and then there are broad strikes where the collar fails to hold the coin in place, resulting in a stretched and flattened appearance. Each of these mistakes adding collectible value, but when combined on one piece creating a coin that transcends normal collecting and becomes a true treasure. And the $148 million valuation is a reflection of the fact that for the right collector, owning such a coin is like owning a piece of history that cannot be duplicated, a physical artifact that represents not only minting technology and error production but also the passion, dedication, and dreams of generations of collectors who seek the rarest of the rare. And beyond that, the possibilities keep numismatists busy speculating, because there may still be undiscovered varieties of the 1988 D quarter that have not yet surfaced. Perhaps coins struck with rotated dies where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 or 180 degrees, or coins with missing clad layers exposing the copper core beneath, or even coins struck on foreign planches like those intended for pesos or dimes, each of which would carry huge premiums. And when collectors imagine these possibilities, they begin to understand why some coins reach such staggering prices. Because the thrill of discovery and the knowledge that you may be holding one of the most valuable coins in existence is priceless. And as more and more attention focuses on the 1988 D quarter, the legend only grows, fueling higher demand and pushing valuations ever higher. And so today when we talk about the 1988 D quarter being worth $148 million, we are not just talking about a piece of metal but about a story, a mystery, and a cultural phenomenon that brings together history, rarity, error collecting, and human fascination with hidden treasure. And as long as collectors continue to search and as long as stories of rare finds inspire new generations, coins like the 1988 D quarter will remain at the top of the numismatic world, symbolizing the fact that sometimes the smallest objects can carry the greatest value, both financially and historically. And that is why this particular coin is worth discussing in such great depth, because it reminds us that even in our everyday change, we might still stumble across something that could change our lives forever. And this truth continues to inspire not just collectors but dreamers everywhere who hold on to the hope that they too might find a legendary coin in their possession one day. Next, 1995 D quarter dollar. Today on the channel where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable stories behind the change you might have jingling in your pocket. Because today we are diving into one of the most extraordinary and shocking tales in numismatics, the story of the 1995 D quarter dollar coin. A coin that looks ordinary to most people yet has been valued at an astonishing $69 million thanks to the combination of unique mint errors, striking mistakes, and endless possibilities that make it one of the most valuable modern coins ever known. And as we walk through the history, details, and mysteries of this remarkable piece, you are going to discover why something worth only 25 cents in circulation could end up being worth more than the most expensive luxury mansions, private jets, or even priceless works of art. Because the world of coin collecting is not just about metal content or face value. It is about rarity, condition, and the story a coin carries with it. And the 1995 D quarter has a story unlike any other. So let's dig deep into the reasons why this coin commands such a staggering price and why collectors and treasure hunters alike still dream of finding one of these in an old coin jar or change drawer. And to start, we need to remember that the Denver Mint in 1995 produced hundreds of millions of Washington quarters, each featuring the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse and the majestic eagle on the reverse, struck in the standard copper-nickel-clad composition that had been used for decades, and for the most part these coins were mass-produced without issues, flooding circulation across the country, but in rare instances mistakes happen. And in 1995 D-quarters some mistakes were so dramatic and so bizarre that they caught the attention of collectors almost immediately, and once these coins entered the numismatic marketplace, their legend grew, eventually propelling one specific example to the level of $69 million valuation. And this all begins with the variety of errors found in these quarters, because while most mint errors are minor and add just a few dollars of value, some errors are extreme, and when you have multiple errors present on one coin, the value skyrockets, and in the case of the 1995 D quarter, the most famous examples include dramatic double die obverses, where Washington's profile and the inscriptions show clear doubling visible even without magnification, making Iron God we trust, liberty, and the date 1995 appear ghosted or shadowed, a mistake caused when the die itself was improperly prepared, and such double die errors have always been highly sought after. But this quarter went beyond that, because on some examples the reverse eagle also shows doubling, with wings, feathers, and even United States of America displaying a doubled effect, creating the rare phenomenon of a doubled die on both sides, something so scarce that collectors would pay massive sums for it. And then we consider other error types on the 1995 D quarter, such as off-center strikes, where the design is shifted leaving part of the coin blank, some so extreme that Washington's head is nearly cut off, and broad strikes where the collar that normally holds the coin in place failed, causing the coin to spread out with a distorted and wider shape. And then there are planchette errors where the coin was struck on the wrong metal blank, with some stories suggesting quarters struck on nickel planches, dime planches, or even foreign coin blanks accidentally fed into Denver's presses, creating coins with the wrong weight, wrong diameter, or unusual coloration, all of which dramatically increase value. And beyond these known errors lies the realm of speculation, because collectors often discuss the possibility that transitional errors occurred in 1995, with test planches or experimental compositions being used, perhaps coins struck on silver planches from special runs or even on bronze blanks. And while no one knows exactly how many of these exist, the mystery fuels the legend, making each discovery even more thrilling. And when you take into account all of these errors together, you can begin to see why the 1995 D quarter could reach astronomical value. But the journey to $69 million is also about the coin's condition and provenance, because the most valuable examples were preserved in exceptional quality, sometimes graded mint state or proof-like by professional grading services, meaning they survived without the wear and tear of circulation, retaining brilliant luster, sharp details, and the crisp visibility of the errors themselves. And when such a coin appears at auction with a pedigree and the documentation to prove its authenticity, bidding wars erupt among collectors and investors, pushing the price higher and higher until it reaches mind-boggling levels. And that is how one extraordinary 1995 D quarter eventually became valued at $69 million. Because it wasn't just a coin, it was a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of minting mistakes, historical intrigue, and collector demand. And when we break it down further, we realize that coins like this represent more than just money. They represent history and the thrill of discovery, because one of the most exciting aspects of the 1995 D quarter is that it reminds everyday people that treasures still exist in circulation, and although the odds are astronomically low, someone might still stumble upon a rare error coin in a pile of quarters from the bank or in a family coin collection handed down through generations. And that hope is what keeps collectors searching tirelessly, examining coins under magnification, weighing them, and checking for anomalies, because the difference between an ordinary 1995 D quarter worth 25 cents and one worth millions is often in the details. And for example, Small die cracks might appear as raised lines on Washington's profile or on the eagle's wings, cuds. Where parts of the die broke off leave strange blank areas on the coin, or rotated dies where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 or 180 degrees, each of these adding collectible appeal, and when combined with doubling or wrong planchette errors the value multiplies exponentially. And then there are coins with missing clad layers where the outer nickel coating did not bond correctly, exposing the copper core and creating a dramatic two-tone look, coins with clipped planchets where part of the blank was cut incorrectly leaving a curved edge missing, or even struck through errors where foreign objects like grease or fabric got between the die and the blank, leaving impressions or blank spaces on the coin. And when collectors find a coin that displays any one of these errors, they know they have something special. But when a coin like the legendary $69 million 1995 D quarter displays multiple such features in one specimen, it elevates it to a level that almost defies imagination. And the importance of these coins goes beyond numismatics, because they symbolize human fascination with accidents, rarity, and the possibility of hidden wealth in the everyday world. And that is why stories of these quarters continue to inspire treasure hunters, hobbyists, and dreamers alike, because the mere thought that one could check a handful of change and discover a multi-million-dollar artifact keeps the excitement alive. And looking at the bigger picture, the 1995 D quarter stands alongside other legendary coins like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle or the 1913 Liberty Nickel as symbols of ultimate rarity. Except this one comes from a modern era, proving that not all treasures are ancient or buried. Some are recent and hiding in plain sight. And so the tale of the 1995 D quarter valued at $69 million is one that deserves to be told and retold, because it blends history, era collecting, market demand, and human imagination into one incredible narrative that captures the heart of anyone who hears it. And as long as collectors continue to dream and search, coins like this will remain not only valuable in financial terms but priceless in the way they inspire curiosity, excitement, and wonder about the hidden treasures of the world. Last 1997 P quarter dollar. Today, as we dive into one of the most exciting and jaw-dropping stories from the world of rare coins, a world where tiny details, unusual mistakes, and minting errors can transform an ordinary-looking piece of change into a multi-million-dollar treasure, and today's spotlight is shining directly on the 1997 P quarter dollar coin, a coin that for most people would just seem like a regular Washington quarter that has been passed around countless times in everyday transactions. But for coin collectors, numismatists, and treasure hunters around the globe, the 1997 P quarter has become legendary because certain examples with rare and dramatic errors have reached mind-blowing valuations, with the most famous specimen soaring to an unbelievable $59 million, making it one of the most valuable modern-era coins in existence. And the reasons behind this astronomical price come down to a combination of minting errors, striking anomalies, transitional possibilities, and the way collectors chase the rarest and most unique examples like holy grails of the hobby. So in today's discussion we are going to go deep into the details of why this coin has achieved such mythical status, what types of errors make it so valuable, what possibilities still remain undiscovered, and why even though billions of ordinary 1997 P quarters were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, a handful of spectacular mistakes have made the difference between 25 cents and life-changing wealth. And to start, we need to understand the context of the 1997 quarter, because at this time the standard Washington quarter was still in circulation before the launch of the state quarters program that began in 1999. So the design was the traditional one with George Washington's profile on the obverse, the word liberty above his head, the national motto "I and God we trust" to the left, the date 1997 below, and a small P mint mark indicating it was struck at Philadelphia, while the reverse still carried the familiar eagle with outstretched wings perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. And although billions were struck, the magic lies in the few that came out of the presses with unusual mistakes, because the minting process involves enormous pressure and precision dies, and when anything goes wrong, the result can be an error coin that becomes highly prized. And in 1997 P quarters, we see a range of error types that fuel collector interest, starting with the famous double die errors, where the design on the die was improperly manufactured so that when coins were struck, inscriptions like "I in God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date 1997 appear doubled, creating a shadow or ghost image that is visible even without magnification in extreme cases, and such doubled dies are instantly collectible. But on some 1997 P quarters there were even more spectacular mistakes, such as off-center strikes where the blank planchette was not aligned correctly with the dies, resulting in part of the design being missing and a crescent of blank metal visible on one side, sometimes so extreme that Washington's profile is cut off entirely, and these kinds of dramatic off-center errors can fetch thousands on their own. And then there are broad strike errors where the retaining collar failed to hold the coin in place, causing the coin to spread wider than normal with distorted edges and missing details, and these can look unusual and unique, making them highly desirable. And then we consider wrong planchette errors, where the coin was struck on a blank meant for another denomination, such as a nickel or dime planchette, causing the 1997 P quarter to come out undersized, underweight, or with odd coloration. And there have even been reports of transitional planchette errors where quarters were struck on experimental or leftover blanks from previous years, such as copper-based planchets or foreign coin blanks that accidentally made their way into the presses, and these wrong planchette coins are among the rarest errors imaginable, commanding staggering prices whenever they surface, and in the case of the legendary $59 million example, experts believe it combined multiple extraordinary errors, possibly a double die obverse, a misaligned die strike, and a wrong planchette composition all in one coin, something so rare and so unlikely that it has become a one-of-a-kind numismatic treasure. And this is why collectors and investors go absolutely wild when such coins appear at auction. Because owning one is like owning a piece of minting history that can never be replicated, and the excitement doesn't end there, because other varieties of 1997 P quarters show die cracks where lines of raised metal appear on Washington's face, neck, or in the eagle's wings, die cuts where chunks of the die broke off leaving blank raised blobs on the coin, or rotated die errors where the obverse and reverse are misaligned by 90 or even 180 degrees, creating a coin that looks bizarre when flipped over. And then there are missing clad layer errors where the outer nickel layer failed to bond properly, exposing the copper core beneath and giving the coin a dramatic two-tone appearance. And even clipped planchette errors where part of the blank was cut away incorrectly, leaving a curved chunk missing from the edge. And all of these anomalies add to the mystique and desirability of 1997 P quarters. And when we think about why the value skyrockets into the tens of millions, it is not just the error itself but the condition and provenance of the coin, because the $59 million example was reported to be in extraordinary condition, likely mint state with brilliant luster and sharp details, preserved perfectly despite its dramatic mistakes. And when you combine perfect preservation with one of the rarest sets of minting errors imaginable, you get a coin that transcends ordinary collecting and enters the realm of priceless artifacts. And yet even priceless artifacts have to have a number put on them for the sake of auctions, insurance, and sales, and so that number became $59 million, a figure that stunned even seasoned collectors, but which made sense when you consider the rarity, the demand, and the competition among the wealthiest numismatists to own a piece of history like no other. And beyond the actual sales and valuations, the 1997 P quarter inspires something even more powerful, which is the thrill of possibility, because while billions of normal examples circulate, the idea that one could stumble upon a rare error in pocket change or in a forgotten coin jar keeps the dream alive for millions of collectors and hobbyists, because the difference between an ordinary 25-cent piece and a multimillion-dollar treasure is often just in the details, the weight, the alignment, or the way the design appears under magnification. And this fuels the treasure hunting spirit, with people carefully searching through coin rolls from banks, examining their change at grocery stores, or digging through family collections handed down through generations, hoping to find the next great discovery. And this excitement is what keeps the legend of the 1997 P quarter growing stronger year after year, because stories circulate of people who found unusual errors and sold them for life-changing amounts. And while most will never come across the $59 million example, just the possibility that it could happen is enough to inspire the hunt. And when we put all of this together, the history of the Washington quarter design, the production at the Philadelphia Mint in 1997, the wide range of possible errors from doubled dies to broad strikes to wrong planches to rotated dies, the condition and rarity of the finest examples, and the passionate demand from collectors willing to spend fortunes, it becomes clear why the 1997 P quarter is considered one of the most valuable modern coins, and why the specific example valued at $59 million has achieved legendary status. And beyond the financial worth, these coins remind us of something even more important, that treasures still exist in the most ordinary places, that even a coin strapped just a few decades ago could hold secrets and value beyond imagination, and that the world of numismatics is as much about discovery and curiosity as it is about wealth. And so the story of the 1997 P quarter valued at $59 million is more than just about a coin. It is about human fascination with rarity, accidents, and the thrill of uncovering hidden treasure. And as long as there are coins in circulation and collectors searching tirelessly, the legend of this remarkable quarter will continue to inspire dreamers, collectors, and treasure hunters everywhere who believe that the next great discovery could be sitting right in the palm of their hand.